The Silent Frontier. The galaxy was wide and endless, stretching farther than any star map could hold. At the far edge of this endless ocean of light, there was a place few dared to go. It was called the Silent Frontier, a region of dark space where suns had died, where planets lay frozen, and where no empire cared to plant its flag. For centuries, the alien races spoke of it only in whispers. They said it was empty. They said it was cursed. But curiosity always pulled explorers toward it. On this day, a small alien survey ship drifted through that shadowed space. Its crew, members of a proud and curious species, were searching for resources, treasures, or perhaps a secret waiting to be claimed. The stars here felt different. They did not shine with warmth. They seemed like dying embers in a fire long forgotten. The crew felt unease, yet they masked it with pride. For them, every corner of the galaxy was theirs to know, every secret theirs to uncover. They had mapped countless systems, defeated countless dangers, and believed no hidden thing could frighten them. Yet, as the ship moved deeper into the silent frontier, strange signals began to hum through their instruments. At first, the sound was faint, like a whisper at the edge of hearing. The captain frowned and ordered the crew to filter the static. What they heard made their scales tighten and their hearts grow cold. It was not random noise. It was a pattern, a coded transmission, and within that code was a word, a single word repeated again and again. The crew struggled with the translation. Their databases tried to match it. Their minds tried to make sense of it, and then the screen displayed the result. Earth. The bridge fell silent. The word meant little to most of them, but one older officer froze in his seat. His eyes widened and his hands trembled. The younger crew laughed at his reaction, calling it foolish. But the old one whispered, "I have heard that word before." The captain demanded an explanation. The old officer hesitated, then spoke. Long ago, in hidden records, there were stories of a world called Earth. It was said to be the cradle of a species unlike any other. They were called humans. He paused, his voice heavy, and the warnings said to never seek them. The younger crew dismissed him, saying myths had no place in science. They believed the silent frontier only held dead suns and forgotten wreckage. Still, unease settled in the air. The word pulsed again through their speakers. Earth, Earth, Earth. As if something was calling to them, they decided to trace the signal. The ship turned toward the source, guided by coordinates hidden deep within the dark. Hours passed as the stars grew fewer. The silence outside the hull grew heavier. It felt as if space itself was holding its breath. At last, they reached the heart of the signal. Before them hung a massive ruin, a dead star surrounded by strange structures. Black towers floated around it, built from unknown alloys. Each tower pulsed faintly with energy, keeping the star's corpse from collapsing fully. It was like a graveyard built with purpose. The crew was amazed. They recorded everything, scanning the towers, sending back data. They dreamed of glory, of being the first to uncover this forgotten secret. But deep in their hearts, fear gnawed at them. The older officer whispered again, "This is not for us. This is theirs." Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The signal grew louder, filling every corner of the bridge. The word Earth thundered like a heartbeat. The instruments scrambled, the crew shouted, and then the stars outside seemed to shift. One of the younger explorers pointed with shaking hands. "There," he said, his voice cracked. Through the viewing window, they saw something move. A shape emerged from the darkness. It was vast, larger than their entire ship. At first, they thought it was debris, but then the shape adjusted its course. It was not drifting. It was moving with intent. The captain's breath caught. The ship's scanners struggled to define the object. Its surface was layered in black armor, its outline sharp. Its engines glowed faintly, silent but alive. It was a vessel, one older and stronger than anything they had ever seen. The crew stared in disbelief, and the older officer whispered the word no one else dared: human. The shadow vessel did not attack. It only drifted closer, letting its massive presence speak. The alien explorers felt like insects before a storm, small and helpless. Then their comm system crackled. A voice spoke, clear and cold. It was not in their language, but the translator worked quickly. The voice was simple, calm, and final. "You should not be here." The crew froze. Their hearts pounded. Their pride melted into terror. The captain tried to speak, but the words died in his throat. He realized then that this was no forgotten myth. This was no empty frontier. At the edge of the galaxy, something had always been waiting, watching, silent. And now, it had spoken, the forgotten name. The alien ship returned from the silent frontier carrying fear instead of pride. The recordings of the strange signal, the sight of the shadow vessel, and the voice that warned them were stored carefully, yet no one on the crew dared to speak of what they had truly felt. They delivered their findings to the Galactic Council, a vast assembly where hundreds of species debated the fate of stars. The council chamber was filled with voices when the report was read. Many laughed at the discovery, claiming the explorers had only seen old debris or a ghost ship from a forgotten war. Some dismissed the word Earth as nothing but stats. It twisted into nonsense. But when the recordings played and the voice whispered through the speakers, the room grew quiet. You should not be here. The words echoed, and for a moment the mighty council felt small. Some representatives scoffed, saying it was only a trick. Maybe some minor species had set up traps in the silent frontier to scare away trespassers. But others grew uneasy. A few older delegates, their skin pale and their eyes heavy with memory, shifted uncomfortably. One elder from a long-lived species stood slowly. His voice cracked as he spoke. I know that name. The chamber stirred. Earth, he said again. Humans. He paused, and the weight of the word seemed to pull the air down. They are not gone. They were never gone. The records say they should never be disturbed. The younger races laughed, mocking the fear. They believed myths were chains that kept explorers from greatness. They pointed to their fleets, their weapons, their colonies. What can one forgotten species do against us? They said. Their arrogance filled the air like smoke. But the elders did not laugh. They remembered fragments of history erased from most records. Stories of a time when humanity had risen too fast, spreading across stars with a hunger unmatched. Stories of wars so brutal the galaxy had chosen silence instead of memory. Entire archives had been sealed, labeled forbidden. For to speak of humanity was to invite them back. Still, the council demanded answers. Were these humans real, or just shadows of the past? A team was ordered to search deeper into the silent frontier, the delegates argued, some demanding immediate war, others warning of caution. The vote was divided, but curiosity won. It always did. As the debates raged, whispers spread among the lower ranks. Soldiers and merchants spoke of the recordings. Civilians passed rumors through markets. The word, Earth, spread faster than any fire. Some felt excitement, others fear, for the galaxy loved secrets but hated truths. In the quiet corners of the chamber, a cloaked figure listened. This delegate belonged to a small race, one that had once traded with humans in the age before silence. He said nothing, but his mind was heavy with memory. He remembered the stories his ancestors told, of human promises, of human rage, of how one warning from them was always the last. Meanwhile, on the council floor, one arrogant empire stood proud. Their leader mocked the idea that humans could pose any threat. If they exist, he said, raising his voice for all to hear, we will crush them. We will remind them that the galaxy belongs to us. His words echoed with pride, and many clapped, but many more turned pale. The recordings were played again. This time the council demanded the translation be tested. They wanted to know if the voice was truly human. The machines confirmed the language structure was ancient, older than most species in the chamber, but still alive, still sharp. You should not be here. The words carried no anger, no shout, only calm certainty. That calmness frightened more than any threat, for it was the voice of something that did not fear them. The session ended in chaos. The council chambers erupted with arguments. Some demanded full fleets be sent to destroy this so-called Earth. Others demanded silence, begging that the galaxy let the name fade once more. No one agreed, but every delegate carried the word home. Earth. Far away in the shadows of dead stars, the human vessel remained, cloaked in silence. It watched, it listened, for humanity had waited a long time, and they knew curiosity would drag the galaxy back to them. Humanity did not chase, humanity only waited. And when the galaxy returned, they would remember why the name Earth was spoken only in fear. The hidden watchers. While the Galaxy Council argued, far from their shining capitals, something else stirred in. The darkness. Humanity had not been lost. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had been watching, waiting, hidden behind veils of silence and shadow. In secret, their fleets moved like ghosts between dead stars. Their warships bore no banners, no signals, only black armor that swallowed light. They had learned long ago that power was not shown through pride, but through patience. The galaxy had forgotten them, but humanity had never forgotten the galaxy. On the edge of a barren system, a single alien ship wandered too close. It was a trader, carrying metals and food. Its captain thought the silent frontier was safe for a shortcut. He believed the stories of humans were only council gossip. But when his vessel passed near a collapsed star, his instruments froze, his screens went black, and his heart raced. A shadow passed across his view. It was enormous, stretching longer than any ship he had seen, silent, deliberate. A faint blue glow traced along its sides, then vanished. The trader tried to run. His engines roared, but the space around him felt heavy, as if unseen chains bound his ship. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the shadow was gone. His vessel drifted free, systems restored. He checked his crew, shaken but alive. No shots had been fired, no damage had been done, yet deep in his heart he knew it was not mercy, it was warning. When he returned to his homeworld, he spoke of it, but his people mocked him. They said no ghost ship could control space like that. Yet he could not sleep. Each night he remembered the silent shadow watching, measuring, waiting. Stories like his began to spread, a miner here, a scout there, each whispering of shapes in the dark, of signals that vanished when approached, of voices that said nothing yet pressed into their minds. The council dismissed these reports, calling them tricks of fear, but unease spread like a plague. Back in the silent frontier, hidden in the heart of dead suns, human ships remained still. Their crews said little. They had no need for chatter. Their duty was old, written in silence and steel. Watch, wait, remember? In one command vessel, an admiral stood before a vast display of the galaxy. His uniform was plain, his face scarred by old battles. His voice was calm as he spoke to his officers. The council stirs again. They will come. They always do. The officers nodded. They had all been raised with the same truth. Humanity never strikes first. Humanity only answers. The admiral turned to the dark window, staring at the field of stars. They believe we are gone. They believe we are weak. That belief will be their undoing. His words were quiet, but every officer felt the weight of history in them. Humanity had endured wars that burned galaxies. Humanity had rebuilt from ashes when no one thought survival possible. And now, at the galaxy's edge, they had prepared for the day of return. Back in the council worlds, younger species continued to mock the warnings. Fleets were sent deeper into the silent frontier. They searched for ruins, for treasure, never realizing that every move was tracked. Every signal they sent was mirrored on human screens. Every arrogant word spoken in their councils was heard in hidden halls of Earth's watchers. One night, in the Grand Council chamber, a delegate received a private transmission. The screen flickered, and for a moment he saw a human face, pale and sharp, eyes cold as steel. It lasted only seconds before vanishing. He thought it was a dream, but his heart told him otherwise. Someone had reached into the most secure system of the Galaxy Council. Someone had shown him a human still lived. He said nothing to the others. Fear sealed his lips. But his silence was another victory for the Watchers. Humanity did not need to fight. Yet, they only needed the galaxy to doubt itself. Far across the silent frontier, in hidden bases, children of Earth trained in silence. They were taught that patience was power. They were taught that the galaxy would one day return in arrogance, and when it did, humanity would remind them why fear had once silenced the stars. For now, the Watchers stayed in the shadows, their fleets cloaked, their voices hidden. They let the galaxy's curiosity grow. They let arrogance drive it forward. The galaxy thought it was hunting a myth, but in truth, the myth was hunting them, the first encounter. The Galaxy Council finally grew tired of whispers and doubts. Their pride was too great. Their younger members demanded action. They wanted proof that the myths of Earth were only shadows, so they voted, and the decision was made. A fleet would be sent into the silent frontier, a fleet strong enough to crush any hidden foe. 20 warships gathered at the edge of the frontier. They were painted with bright banners, their hulls glowing with the pride of their empires. Their commanders laughed at the fear of the elders. "We will burn away the shadows," one captain declared, "and return with trophies from this so-called Earth." The fleet entered the darkness, their engines bright against the cold. At first, nothing opposed them. Dead stars watched silently as their ships advanced. The captains mocked the silence, calling it proof of weakness. Then the signal came. A single pulse that cut through every screen, every comm, every heart. The voice returned, clear and calm. "Leave now. Do not return." The fleet paused. Some captains laughed. Others grew uneasy. The words carried no anger, no shout, only certainty. The younger commanders refused to back down. "We are the Council's strength," they said. "We will not run from a ghost." So they advanced deeper, weapons charged, sensors open. They thought they were hunters, but in truth they were prey. Suddenly, space itself seemed to bend. From the shadow of a dead star, a single vessel appeared. It was massive, black, and silent. Its design was unlike anything in the galaxy. No banners, no signals, only power. The alien fleet froze. Their sensors struggled to scan it. Systems failed, readouts broke. For a moment, it was as if the shadow ship was not real, yet it filled the stars before them. One alien commander, shaking, whispered, "What is that?" The old officer aboard his ship knew. His voice cracked as he said the word the Council had feared. "Human." The shadow ship moved, not with haste, not with rage, but with absolute control. A beam of light erupted from its hull, silent and precise. In a blink, one alien cruiser split apart, silent flames consuming it. No warning shot, no wasted motion, only proof. The fleet panicked. Some tried to fight, their weapons bright against the darkness, but every strike missed. The human vessel moved as if it already knew where the shots would land. It cut down another ship, then another. Not fast, not furious, but calm, deliberate. The survivors screamed for retreat, their proud words shattered. Fear consumed them as they realized the truth. Humanity had never been gone. Humanity had only been waiting. And now, with a single ship, they showed power greater than 20. Then, as quickly as it began, the attack stopped. The human vessel drifted closer, letting its shadow fall across the broken fleet. A message cut through the void. "This is your only warning." The words pressed into their minds like a knife. The surviving ships turned and fled, dragging their wreckage, limping back to the Council. Their pride had turned to ash. Their arrogance had burned away. Back at the Council chamber, the news fell like thunder. 20 ships had gone, and less than half returned. Those who survived spoke of one human warship. They spoke of precision, of silence, of power that felt endless. They spoke of a voice that carried no mercy, only truth. The younger delegates shouted in denial. They called it lies. They demanded another fleet be sent. But the older ones lowered their heads, for they remembered, they knew what the galaxy had chosen to forget. Humanity always gave one warning, only one. After that, the stars themselves would fall. Far away in the silent frontier, the human vessel drifted back into shadow, its mission complete, its silence restored. Humanity had no need for glory, no need for speeches. They knew the galaxy now understood. The Watchers remained hidden, calm as ever, waiting. For they knew this was only the beginning. The first encounter had come. The galaxy would not stop. Curiosity and arrogance would drag them back, and when they returned, humanity would be ready. The revelation, the Galaxy Council chamber had never been so divided. The survivors of the fleet sat pale and trembling, their voices breaking as they repeated the same truth again and again. It was only one ship, one human warship destroyed us. Their words echoed across the hall, filling even the proudest delegates with unease. Still, arrogance clung to the younger empires. They refused to believe a forgotten species could outmatch them. "One ship cannot hold back the galaxy," a delegate roared. "We have thousands. We will burn them from the stars." His words were loud, but his eyes betrayed fear. The elders did not argue. They remembered too much. They whispered among themselves. Some had seen records locked away for ages, stories of how humanity once stood against coalitions far greater than this council and prevailed, but few dared to speak the truth aloud. For to say it was to admit the galaxy had always lived in humanity's shadow. Meanwhile, in the silent frontier, the human watchers stirred again. The lone warship that struck down the Council fleet did not return to rest. It joined with others. Silent signals moved between the stars, hidden from all alien eyes. The galaxy had seen one ship, but humanity knew that was only the surface of their strength. From the dark side of dead suns, entire fleets began to uncloak. Warships larger than anything recorded, each black as night. Their engines glowed faintly, like dying embers waiting to awaken. They had been built in silence, in secret, across centuries. Humanity had not wasted its exile. Humanity had prepared. Inside one of the massive command ships, a council of human admirals gathered. Their uniforms were plain, their faces hardened. They spoke quietly, never raising their voices. One admiral stood, his hand resting on a map of the galaxy. They have returned, as we knew they would. They have tested us, as we knew they would. And now, they know. Another admiral, her voice sharp as steel, replied, "They will not stop here. Curiosity is in their nature. Arrogance is their fuel. They will send more. They will come with fire. They will come with numbers. And when they do, we must remind them." The others nodded. Back in the Council worlds, panic began to spread. Civilians whispered of the word Earth in markets and corridors. Soldiers asked their commanders if the stories were true. Entire systems began to question their safety. For if 20 warships could fall to one, what chance did anyone have? The Council tried to silence the rumors, but fear does not stay quiet. And then came the moment that shattered every doubt. It began with stars dimming. Not all, not many, but just enough to make the galaxy notice. Outposts on the edge of the silent frontier sent desperate transmissions. "The stars are going dark," they cried. "Our systems are failing. Our skies are falling." Then silence followed, whole colonies erased in moments. The Council believed it was natural collapse until the recordings came. Footage from one doomed outpost showed a human fleet appearing from the shadows. They did not fire on civilians. They did not speak. They only deactivated systems, shutting entire stations down with unseen power. And then they left, leaving only fear behind. When the footage reached the Council chamber, no one laughed anymore. The younger delegates who once shouted for war sat pale and shaking. The elders lowered their eyes, for they understood humanity was not showing their full strength. They were only revealing enough to remind the galaxy what they had forgotten. In the darkness, aboard their warships, humanity spoke in whispers. One commander turned to her crew. "The galaxy calls us myth. They think we are shadows. Let them believe it. But when they push again, they will see the truth." Her words settled like iron in every heart. And so the revelation spread, not through conquest, not through speeches, but through silence. Humanity did not need to scream their return. They only needed to remind the galaxy that their patience had ended, that the watchers had risen, that the stars themselves would fall if the warnings were ignored. The falling stars. The galaxy had always believed itself untouchable. The Council ruled through numbers, through fleets that spanned light years, through colonies that filled every corner of the spiral arms. But when the first stars began to go silent, that belief started to die. Reports came from dozens of systems at once. Whole sectors lost power, trade routes cut off, fleets vanishing into the dark. At first, the Council called it coincidence. They said it was natural collapse, unstable stars, or pirate strikes. But then the survivors returned, and their stories were all the same. They spoke of shadows moving in silence, human warships drifting out of dead suns, disabling fleets without effort, disabling colonies without a word, no conquest, no looting, only silence left behind. And every time, the message came, whispered across broken comms. You were warned. Panic spread like fire. Civilizations that once stood proud began to hide. Worlds dimmed their lights, hoping to avoid notice, yet the shadows still came. No place was safe, no empire untouched. In the Council chambers, fear replaced arrogance. The younger empires shouted no more, their voices cracked with desperation. We must fight them together, all fleets, all weapons. But the elders shook their heads. They knew, they had always known, humanity was not an enemy that could be defeated through numbers. Humanity was inevitability. One elder spoke at last, his voice breaking. Do you not see? They are not striking in anger. They are not destroying us. They are reminding us. They warned us once, and we ignored them. And now the stars themselves fall at their will. The council fell into silence. For outside their chambers, the galaxy was burning. In the silent frontier, humanity advanced slowly. Not with haste, not with rage, but with patience sharpened into a weapon. Their fleets spread like ink through the void. Each ship was a fortress, each movement precise. They did not seek war, but they did not avoid it either. When challenged, they responded with overwhelming force. When obeyed, they left only silence. On one world near the frontier, citizens gathered to watch the skies. They saw their defense fleet rise to meet the humans. They cheered their commanders, believing pride could protect them. Minutes later, the sky lit with fire. The entire fleet was erased in silence. And then the human ships hovered above the planet, massive shadows covering the sun. But they did not attack. They spoke instead. A voice filled every mind, calm and cold. Your leaders were warned. Do not resist. Live in silence, and you will endure. Then the ships left, leaving the planet untouched. The people trembled. For what kind of power chooses not to conquer, but to remind? What kind of strength holds back when it could destroy? Only something that feared nothing. Only something that had already decided the fate of the galaxy. Back in human command halls, the admirals spoke quietly. They did not boast. They did not celebrate. The stars fall one by one admiral said, her eyes on the map. The galaxy learns at last. They will bow or they will burn. The others nodded, for this was not revenge. This was correction. Humanity had given one warning, and the galaxy had chosen pride instead of peace. Entire empires began to collapse. Trade routes cut, colonies abandoned, fleets retreating, and wherever they retreated, shadows followed. The stars themselves seemed to go dark, not because they died, but because humanity had made them silent. And in every silence, in every shadow, in every darkened star, the same truth echoed. Humanity had returned, humanity was watching, humanity was inevitable. The final warning. The Galactic Council had become a hall of silence, once filled with arguments, laughter, and pride. Now it echoed with fear. Delegates no longer shouted of glory, they whispered of survival. The younger empires, once arrogant, now sat pale, staring at the reports piling in. Entire fleets gone, entire colonies cut from the stars, entire empires crumbling under shadows. Each survivor repeated the same words. They warned us. Over and over again, the elders knew the truth, but they had no comfort to give. They remembered the forbidden records, the old histories buried in dust. They remembered how humanity always gave one warning, and how the galaxy, always ignored it. And they remembered how the punishment that followed was never swift rage, but patient, cold, and total. At last, the council sent envoys, desperate voices pleading into the dark. They broadcast messages across the silent frontier, begging for dialogue. They promised peace. They promised retreat. They promised silence. The galaxy was willing to kneel if it meant survival. For many days, no answer came. Then, one night, every screen across the council chamber flickered. Every delegate froze. For the darkness on their screens shifted into shape. A single figure appeared, human, tall and scarred, standing with a calmness that crushed every heart in the room. His voice was steady, as if he had all the time in the universe. We warned you once, he said. That was enough. The chamber shook with silence. No one dared to speak. The human's eyes scanned the room as though he could see each delegate, each empire, each trembling heart. You believed us gone. You believed us weak. You believed yourselves untouchable. His voice carried no anger, only fact. But humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. We waited, we watched, and now you know. A delegate finally stood, his voice desperate. We surrender. We will obey. Please, do not destroy us. His words echoed through the chamber, and many others shouted the same, begging, pleading. The human raised his hand, and silence fell again. We did not return to conquer. he said. "We did not return to rule, we returned to remind." His eyes hardened. The galaxy chose arrogance over caution, and so the stars have fallen. Outside the chamber, reports poured in. More systems going dark, more fleets vanishing. The galaxy itself seemed to bow under the weight of humanity's shadow. The humans' final words burned into every heart. "Live in silence, and you may endure. Challenge us again, and the heavens themselves will burn." The screen went black. The chamber sat frozen. No one dared breathe, for they all knew the truth. Now, humanity did not threaten. Humanity promised. From that day onward, the galaxy lived under a new order, not of conquest, but of fear. Every star that shone reminded them of humanity's patience. Every shadow that passed reminded them of humanity's warning. The silent frontier was no longer silent. It was humanity's wall, humanity's throne, the place where myths had become truth and truth had become law. And so the galaxy learned, one warning from Earth was enough. Ignore it, and the stars themselves would fall.